Now I can see. So a common theme throughout the entire book was the use of the number 7. There's 7 words to make a woman fall in love with you. 7 Kandrian, which are the bad guys. Kvothe would speak in 7s on accident to Denna. So we're going to rate our book in 7s.
And the sympathy lamps, obviously, are magic lamps. You can be blue ones too. So. Actually, he's making blue sympathy lamps when the thing caught on, when the shop caught on fire or something.
That he had to save Fella from.
Yeah.
Which was played by me.
Okay, so I guess I'll give my critique first. You probably already heard me say this a lot, but I like the idea of magic and how it's well explained and it just things just don't happen. Like I never fantasy story. You have to. It's fantasy because you have unexplainable phenomena that happens. That you can't explain, but they also use in the story you use science to explain part of it, and then use fantasy for the other. It's kind of more like a hybrid story of like realistic fantasy in a way. So that's what I liked about it. What I didn't like is how like elusive the Chandrian were. Like he only meets the Chandrian really once. That's when his parents are killed, which is like traumatizing. He never meets them again or sees them at all. And he gets hints and nods to it. Like when he went over to the other city at Targaryen, when he faced the Drakus, he heard a story of a wedding that was destroyed by the Chandrian. And like blue flames, that's their signal. But he was never expecting to find this Drakus. But the idea of the Chandrian were never there. He never found them at all. You only heard nods stories. And the book is very unconclusive because of that. I feel this book is very much a setup for the next book to come. This is a three book series, I think, so he's still working on the 3rd book. What I would have added, obviously, to add on to my dislike, I would have added more encounter with the Chandrian, how realistic, or not realistic, but how they would have played more into the story of him, his main driving force, like in the back of his head, going forward to get justice. Overall, I'd give it 7, just because 7's infinite.
So one thing that I actually really liked about the book is what one thing Jacob Fox pointed out as we were going while reading the book is what Patrick Rothfuss did is at the beginning, while Kvothe was talking to Chronicler, because he's telling his story, Kvothe tells Chronicler that's going to take 3 days to explain his book, or to explain his whole story. And in this series, there's 3 books. Each book represents 1 day of him explaining his story. So I thought that was really neat and really smart. I like how he said how he explains magic through science, like, conservation of energy, how matter can't be created or destroyed, because I thought that made it a lot more realistic. And you don't see that in really any of the fantasy stories. Like in Harry Potter, it's like he just has a wand and he's able to flick light out of it and, throw his opponent 8 feet back. And personally, what I really like in fantasy stories is like the creatures, like mythical creatures, whether it be a dragon or whatnot. I like how this one kind of made it different. How like the Drakus was he was wingless. He wasn't like any kind of dragon, but it was still like a really good fight scene. And then we also had creatures where in the book where we didn't really explain it because he's not that big of a part, but Bast is Kvothe's assistant, and Bast is actually half demon. So it's really cool. He's like, I think he's like called a fairy, which I'm pretty sure it's called, which is really cool. And another thing I really enjoyed is, I think I've only seen it once before, is when while he was telling his story, Kvothe had like interludes where he'd basically chime back to like the real time and talk about what was happening. There was even a fight scene at the end, like with him being his older self instead of saying his story, and I thought that really added a lot to the story. But one thing I didn't like was the fact that Bast was an important character. Like they didn't really mention him much in the book, but I thought he could have been a really good character, really strong for like the story, because he was really cool. He really was. And as he said, Haliax, he didn't show up more. He showed up once, killed his family, and you never saw him again. I thought that maybe, he should have made at least...
Please pardon the interruption. Teachers, if you could please release your band section leaders as they had to prepare for today's state send-off parade. Thank you.
Carter, I'm going to ask you to fast forward to your overall, just based on time, so everybody can get a chance.
Crap.
Yep.
What's your overall?
5.5.
Okay.
5.
Okay, I'll go next. So, like Brian and Carter said, I liked how unique it was and how different it was compared to every other fantasy novel. And I myself love fantasy just because it actually keeps me continue reading the book without having ever a really boring part. And I liked how just, especially the love interest was different, how she was never really around. She kind of just toyed with him and teased him and played around with other guys in front of him, but he still went after her. I liked how, like Zach said, there is the typical best friends, Will and Sim, and that reminded me of Harry Potter. I think it could have added more to, like Brian said, the Chandrian, because I was really excited to hear more about it, because it brought it up so early in the book. And I just didn't like how they never were really mentioned as much as I would like to. So overall, I would give it a 5 out of 7. Sympathy vibes.
Right, so other than what my group mates have already said, I think just the book in general was written very beautifully. I just like the diction in the book and just the way it was formulated. Patrick Rothfuss did a very good job with that, regardless of the genre of the book. One thing I didn't like was the way it ended. It ended without a cliffhanger or anything like that. And I would have changed the university. More of his education to kind of like show what that, because that was really interesting to me. I'd rate it 6 sympathy vibes.
Jacob, lightning round.
My personal favorite thing about the book is that Patrick Rothfuss like left little hints. Like he told the story of Taylor and Canis and how like the iron wheel, Taylor used the iron wheel to kill Canis, and it sort of like had no point at first. But then later in the book, when he's fighting the Drakus, he drops the iron wheel on it, and it's symbolic. And that was probably my favorite thing about the book. The thing I liked least would probably be the ending, because it was like all action-packed. I couldn't put the book down, and then it kind of just stopped suddenly when it ended. Overall, I would probably rate it 7 out of 7 though, because despite the ending, there's 2 more books in the series.
Great job, guys!